I want to welcome everyone to our Ohio Writers Guild. It's all about authors and writers. And so today we're talking to Sherry Brown. I can't wait. So I want to just tell a little bit about what I do and where to find all the information in the Academy. So that's the first thing that I want to talk about before I turn it over to Sandy to tell us more about her writer's workshop. And for those of you that haven't registered, I will tell you this. I think you've missed the first lowest price into the workshop. It's now at the next level. I'm going to let Sandy tell you about that. But it's still worth it. Trust me, you're going to want to do as many workshops. If you want to be a writer, surround yourself with writers because it just helps you sharpen your skill set. So I will say that. But before we go any further, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a passive income mentor, and I have created the Kathy Benner International Academy. And I'm going to share my screen for just a moment. And so bear with me. I got to move all of our faces around here to get to it. This is my actual home page on my academy. And when you come over here to the More button, and come down to authors and writers, if everyone can see that, and click on the authors and writers, then you will see here is where you get all of the previous replays of all of the actual videos that we've done, audio and video. And then here is the course. So when you click on that, you can scroll down and it tells you everything that you want to know if you're at the very beginning of starting to write. For those of you that have been writing, a lot of this will be elementary to you, but maybe not. Today, we're talking about editing your writing. And so when I click on that, I just want to show you what's here. There are 8 types of editing. And I know a lot of us don't know that. When we first started, we were like, what does editing actually mean? It means that an editor makes my writing look better, sound better, flow better. Yes, it's all of those things. And so here are the 8 types. You have developmental editing. That's the overall structure. Then you have structural editing, which that works with the flow of your writing, and editorial. That's the overall evaluation of your strengths and weaknesses. Line editing, it refines the language and the style of the manuscript. Copy editing, it's fine-tuning the mechanics and the technical aspect. Proofreading, it's the final stage before publication. Then you have substantive editing, which it's the elements of developmental editing and line editing, addressing both the content and the language of the manuscript. And then finally, the fact checking involves verifying the accuracy and reliability of all the factual information that you may have stated in your text. So then the course actually breaks all of that down. And I'm not going to read it to you. You can click through there. It gives you all of the 8 types. And then it gives you more detail about what each type is and when you need it and how you need it. And sometimes you can wrap all of that up into 1 or 2 people. Sometimes you might need to just farm that out, hire that out, let somebody else edit for you. If you have some folks in your back pocket that are good editors. I have an English teacher that she was my client for years. And every time I wanted to write something, she was like, let me read that before you print that. And I'm like, okay, good thing she did, because she caught a lot of those little boo-boos that when we do them ourselves, we don't see them. We can read it a million times and it does not jump off the page at us. But when someone else reads it, it does. So one of my little hacks that I like before I even get my manuscript ready for the editor is I like to write something and then I like to let it get cold. And what that means is I just tuck it away for a few days and then I come back and read it with kind of a fresh eye, as if I were reading it, even though I wrote it, as if I were reading it for the first time. And a lot of those little things will jump out at me. I'll say, oh, you know what, that sounded good when I wrote it, but it doesn't flow so well now that I read it again. And so that's one of my hacks, is letting it get cold. Another one is I like to read it out loud, because sometimes when you're reading something in your head, you kind of, since you wrote it, you're like, blah, 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 blah. And you skim past, a whole paragraph because you're like, oh, I know what that says. I wrote that. But if you go back and read it out loud, sometimes you're like, wow, that didn't really sound like I thought it should. So now I need to tweak it. So here's the problem. Then sometimes we get stuck where we're constantly editing and saying, oh, I could say that better. And we overthink it. So there's that fine line of making it as good as you can make it, but don't overthink it to the part where you never get it published because you're like, oh, nobody's going to want to read this and this isn't any good. And I sometimes you just got to do it. Am I right, Sherry? You just got to do it. So,
Yes.
so anyway, we're going to talk to Sherry about how she did it. But first, I want to turn it over to Sandy and let Sandy tell us about the writer's workshop. So, Sandy, over to you.
Hi, thank you very much. And funny you mentioned editing. Two of my featured guests at Into the Springs Writers Workshop at the Mills Park Hotel in Yellow Springs, August 1, 2, and 3, is an agent coming out of Twinsburg, Ohio at Storm Literary Agency. She's co-owner and has worked there and other places as well as an agent. And one of the sessions is on editing. And you're right, the whole spectrum of the different types of editing for whom will be very important to talk about and listen. That was one of her key things when I was chatting with her, like what sort of sessions would she like to talk about? So we have a combined one. She's going to be sharing that session with my other featured guest, Juliet Highland, who's had 25 books published by Mills and Boon, which is a section of Harlequin. And she just signed a 6-book deal this year for 6 more books, romance books. And she has not a different perspective, but her personal perspective. She doesn't have an agent. She has an editor. She does have to have things done well before it goes to the editor. And then what happens when she gets responses back to the editor, from the editor. So that's just one of the sessions. In addition, we're going to have something on how to make a book pitch. Why not? We've got an agent there. And it's the first time in my 7 years, this will be my 7th year doing this workshop. And this will be my first with a traditional, what we call traditional publishing route with an agent. And just to listen to her talk about the world of agenting today, I'm sure it's changed drastically from 10 or more years ago. And she's going to talk about how to pitch because she is going to listen to book pitches. And we're going to talk, she's going to talk about the life of an agent, what that is like. And Juliet's going to chat about putting pen to paper. I needed to figure out how uh, Vicky Salvaggio can listen to book pitches without taking anybody out of the sessions. That's something that happens a lot when agents are at sessions, and I don't like it to happen at mine. So I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? So Juliet had said, hey, I will lead writing exercises. So that's what she's going to do for an hour while people can walk out, pitch their book. They get 10 minutes and then come back and join us. She's also going to, Juliet will also talk about characters to root for. And you know, we're talking fiction. So how do you keep the person engaged? I mean, when you hear yourself talk about the latest, best, favorite book you're reading, what do you usually talk about first? And usually it's the character and why you put that book down and never pick it up again. It's usually something doesn't jive with the character story. So how do you make characters that root for? And then she's going to talk about the big 3, the GMC, goal, motivation, and conflict, and how that is extremely important to your writing as well. So I've got this wonderful balance between traditional publishing, the business world of pitching your book, submitting your book, that sort of thing, and then how to make your own writing a tad bit better than it was yesterday, and what to do, and to keep it simmering, as Kathy had said, and then come back to it and see what it has to say. Other things go on. I only have those 2 guest speakers because they need to be there the whole weekend. So when your question comes up, they are accessible to answer it for you. We all share lunch together, so that helps as well. There are book sales at the, if you want to
Hey,
share.
sorry I'm late.
Oh, we're going to mute
Welcome.
you. We're right in the middle of talking with Sandy.
Yeah, yeah. Good to have you. And I am going on. So I'm glad you stepped in there. So the whole weekend is all about you. It's all about your writing. It's all about giving you a chance to talk about that writing, to sell some of it if you're published. And if you're not published, but you want to read your story to us, we have open mic night. And you can get up and read up to 10 minutes of your work. And if you're too shy to do that, you can have somebody else do it for you. So it's great. I kind of want you to walk out on Sunday afternoon going, holy smokes, my head is full. Going, yes, job done. So that's a part of it. Email me, Sandy at Into the Springs, writersworkshop.com, or check out the website, please. I'd love to see you there. Thanks.
Sandy, thank you so much. I can't wait. I do go to other writers' workshops, and I will say this, that Sandy's is still my favorite. So,
Oh,
because it's small enough that you really can make some connections, and you feel like maybe you're not as intimidated to ask some of those questions. Some of the other workshops I've been to have been so huge that you kind of almost feel like you're a number. Now, don't get me wrong, I gain a lot of information and I'm
mhm.
listening and I'm taking notes and I'm growing as a writer. But sometimes I don't feel like it's as cozy as Sandy's. And so I really like it. Sylvia said, is this workshop for fiction writers only, Sandy, or
No.
can nonfiction?
No, and you know what my key is now this year I happen to have two Juliet is definitely a fiction writer, but Storm Literary Agency covers all the genres except maybe poetry. Nonfiction, she has children's book authors and she also does children illustrators too. So I would say, I'll put that in the chat. Go to Storm Literary Agency and just see what's there because she's in charge. She knows her staff. She knows and will recommend maybe I won't represent you, but I can give you to my, you know, employee here. She, he, they may represent just what you write. So,
I love that. I love that. Sandy, thank you so much.
sure.
I don't want to put Sally on the spot, but I'm going to go over to Sally. Sally is another one of our co-hosts, co-mods, and Sally is a blogger and a travel agent. And I will say this, that Sandy's workshop is one of our tribe trips. If you are in my tribe, it is one of the tribe trips. And so we will get together and do some fun little things in addition to being at her conference on a side note, like maybe a dinner just for the tribe, that sort of thing. So let me know if you are going to Sandy's workshop. And again, Sally is a travel agent. So if you need help setting up a room, Sally can help you with that. But I'm going to let Sally tell us a little bit about what she does. So, Sally, over to you.
Oh,
Oh,
unmute.
you're on mute, Sally.
I'm Sally Sutter. I have owned Mermaid Travel for, I think it's over 15 years. I know.
Wow.
And we've had some difficulties with the stuff that's gone on in a few years, but we made it through. So I specialize in groups. I do individual trips and I do help people with accessibility needs as far as wheelchairs, oxygen, motorized scooters, things like that. So um, I don't want I want everybody to be able to travel. So I don't want anybody left behind. So that's what I do. And I do blog. I have a blog called Embrace the Unexpected. That it's just what I've learned throughout my 72 years. And things can't always go my way. So I have to just ease up. And it sometimes turns out better that way.
I find that it always turns out better that way, Sally. So thank
Yeah.
you for saying that. I want to welcome some more folks that are in the audience that are attending. I know you can hear us. Thank you for being with us today. But now we are going to talk to Sherry. And Sherry, she presents with heart, vision, and integrity. Her training includes both high-level strategies and day-to-day tactics that apply to any organization. Her incredible passion, spirit, and energy make each individual better. And along with her ability to communicate, she encourages listening to make everyone feel capable and confident in who they were created to be, and inspires others to embrace all that life has to offer. So she not only is a published author, but she is also a health coach. And am I right, Sherry? Also kind of like a life coach, kind of? Is that kind
Yes.
of okay?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and put it over in the chat. I see Damon has raised his hand, but we're going to go on with Sherry. So go ahead and put that over in the chat if you have a question for us. So Sherry, tell us, let's go back kind of from the beginning and what, since this is an authors group and we have a lot of wannabe authors in this group, what made you decide in your career and everything that you're doing, what made you decide that you even wanted to write a book? Because I know most of us, um, sometimes we get here that says, folks will say to us, you should write a book. And it's not like we thought we wanted to write a book, but we have all of our family and friends telling us, oh my gosh, you've got so many experiences, you should write a book. When did that kind of transition for you where you said, I'm going to write a book? Tell us about that.
First and foremost, Kathy, thank you very, very, very much for asking me to join your group. This is so exciting that there are all of these resources and these just minds that are full of ideas and creativity that is just really ready to get them down on pen and paper. I know, old school, whereas now you can write manuscripts on your laptop and things of that nature. But thank you, Kathy, very, very much. I'm very, very humbled and very honored to be here. And so to answer your question, the manuscripts that I have, the books that I write, they are all faith-based. And with that being said, this book, and this is the book that she is currently referring to, it's called Mind Your Mouth, and it is faith-based, and it took me 18 years to write this book. And you notice it's not that thick of a book. It's super simple, very straightforward, but I really felt that the Lord was giving me direction to write in the most simplest form what he is saying in his word, and how we get tripped up by this little device that's less than a quarter of an inch below our nose. And so it was not like anybody said, oh, you need to write a book. And even at the time that the idea came, I had two toddlers and then I homeschooled them. I have two children. And I just, as I was sharing, felt I did not want, to get to heaven and God say, well, I asked you to write that book. Yeah, but God, I'm busy. I'm a mom. I do laundry. I do dishes. I do meals. I take care of children. I have two or three other hats that I wear. And that's where the inspiration came from, that if just all the knowledge that I felt that was poured inside of me would help one person, then it was worth all the time, the energy, and the effort it took to get it into print.
Yeah.
Sherry, that is pretty amazing. Now, as you just explained that, you're a mom, the dishes, when did you find time to write?
It was truly in the nooks and the cracks and the crannies. I relied upon my phone. We all have notes, a little section in our phone called notes. And I would just put ideas in my notes. And then I would just go to the laptop. Like if the kids in the middle of them doing school papers, or truly in the little spots. And it's not, and I don't want to blow anybody's bubble, but it's not like, okay, I'm dedicating an hour to write.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. Or I'm going to go away for a long weekend and this is all I'm going to do is eat peanut butter
Yeah.
sandwiches and apple slices and write.
Right.
I didn't have, excuse me, anything like that because I was living my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking care of all that I was taking care of. And even between the book, Mind Your Mouth, and the second book, I lost my notes on my phone, and I lost whole manuscripts that I had put on my phone, and I thought I'd backed it all up. Tidbit technology, it works to the best of our ability sometimes. But truly, if you have a desire to do something like this, you will find the time. If it's important to you, you schedule your own schedule. And that's something else that I felt like the Lord shared with me. I schedule my own schedule. And so if I want to binge on Netflix or fill in the blank versus what kind of a legacy am I going to leave behind? And that was also a true driving point, Kathy. Am I going to be able to leave a legacy not only 20 years from now, but 100 years from now?
And leaving a legacy in print is definitely
Yes.
a legacy. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We lost Mark's dad. He was a college professor, but he wrote a book before he passed, and it's one of my prized possessions.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when I read his book, I hear his voice.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he's still ever present. So it is quite the legacy. Now, Sherry, you talked about scheduling and all of that. What was the best schedule for what worked for you? What does a day look like for you? Are you an early morning writer? Are you a late at night? Right. I know you said you did it in the nooks and crannies, but did you have a kind of a I'll call it a schedule that kind of fell into place that worked for you?
No, not really. I really didn't. And again, I'm not going to bust anybody's
Oh,
bubble,
you
but
give us all hope, Sherry.
I mean, seriously, no, I really didn't. It wasn't like every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 8:15 to 8:45, I'm gonna write. Woo! No, it wasn't like that. It was, hey, I have 10 minutes here while I'm waiting on something to come out of the oven. Hey, I've got 20 minutes here while the kids are working on their lesson plans. Hey, I'm waiting on the dryer to finish up. And so yeah, there were times that I did have a little bit more time, but it simply was the fact of, okay, I just have to trust these ideas. And that would be another thing I would like to encourage any. No idea is a dumb or stupid idea. Just brainstorm, just write it down. And in my case, a scripture would be dropped in my spirit, and I would just write down the scripture. And I would be like, okay, God, what are we going to say about this? What does this mean? How can I write this for someone to understand this? And even in the process of writing it, and even when the reviews would start to come in, I have had very, very close friends. They said, look, I don't want to hurt your feelings here, but I was able to read that like just sitting down for a couple of hours in a day. And I was like, woo! Because that was my goal. Because I didn't want anyone to feel like, oh my gosh, she's talking over my head. I wanted people to feel like, oh my gosh, this is so simple. I have missed it. Thank you so much for the ease of understanding and the clarity.
I love that. When you were writing the Mind Your Mouth, did you have any major obstacle that you had to overcome to get to the finish line on that book?
When you were talking earlier about the editing, change this, change that. Mine was about putting the book in order. Because if you look at the glossary, if you look at the index, I titled the chapters kind of as a go to guidebook. And I even say that. So, like, if there's a specific area in your life that you're having trouble with, then you could just go directly to that chapter. But I wanted to kind of sort of orchestrate that so that took a little navigating, because I'm scrolling through my manuscript because I did, have it on my laptop and things of that nature. And so that was one. And also, and we joke about this, but my editor, she lives in a completely different state, and I've only met her once because she was up for an award. She is a children's book author, and she lives in a completely different time zone, and we don't even remember how we met each other. But she came in my life at the absolute perfect right time. She took me underneath her wing, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about this a little bit later on, but I thought the most difficult part was writing. I thought that was the most difficult part. Oh, holy cow crap. No, it was not. It was all the stuff after that. And I'm like, oh, yay, I've made it. I've already wrote my first book. And we'll get to that here in a little bit.
And then there's more. Okay.
And then there was more because it took me 18 years just to arrive at this.
Yeah. So now when you're in the editing process, did you meet with her online on Zoom? Did you have phone calls? Since she's out of state, how did you, and you don't remember how you met her,
We don't. It was on Facebook.
Okay.
And I think it was in a writer's group.
Okay.
So I do, but I could not go back and tell you which one because if you look at my groups now, I don't even have a writer's group in all of the groups that I have on my Facebook feed. And she was just a blessing. She was just an absolute blessing. And then when the editing came, she would tell me, okay, you need to do this now. You need to do this now. And it was truly a step by step by step process.
Now we talked about the 8 types of editing. Did she do all 8 of those for you?
Some of them were not necessary for me. And I thought that was very, very, very good that you were sharing that. Some of those were not necessary for me, but she helped me with all encompassing, okay, now this is what you need to do. And she assisted me and she helped me, but I was still very active in it and I was still very involved in it.
Okay. Now, what I know is that oftentimes we are our own worst enemy. And we all kind of know that from time to time. It's the stories we tell ourselves. So your book, Sherry, it emphasizes the power of words. Now, how did that principle influence your own self-talk during your writing? Because sometimes I tell myself, oh, this isn't any good. Oh, who's going to read this? Oh, maybe I need to start over. How did you harness, if you will, that self-talk as you were writing that book?
We've all heard the adage that says, do as I say, not as I do. And, if people laugh because they ask my husband, were you the guinea pig? And he's like, I live with this. And then, when the book was published, my daughter was in college and I asked if she would read the book. And she's like, why? Why do I have to read the book? I live the book every day. And, I love my daughter. She is my daughter. And, I shared with her, and this does answer your question. And her name is Hannah. I said, Hannah, that is the greatest compliment that you could have ever given to me because I did do what I said in the book. And there are some of scriptures that are my favorite. And one of them is we bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. And you always have to do a gut check. Okay, so would God tell me I'm a loser and I'm a failure? No. So I need to not think that through. Okay, would God give me this inspirational idea in the middle of the night and wake me up in the middle of the night, which that had happened to me? So put a notebook next to your bed, I'm not joking, and a piece of paper, and I would scribble stuff down and I would decipher it in the morning. Because those thoughts, those dreams, that vision that you have inside of you, that came from somewhere. So if it came from somewhere, it's in you for a reason and for a purpose, even if it's just for you to embrace your own growth and your own writing path. Because I grew by leaps and bounds, not only as a writer, because I did not look at myself as a writer, I did not see myself as a writer, but in the process of it, I felt like I became a better mom. I became more patient with my kids. I do a Bible study and I feel like I'm better equipped to help the people on my Bible study. So you go through the process and you don't think you're growing through the process, but you really are.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can attest to that. As I was writing, it makes you be a better person because once you state something that you're kind of the expert on it, I think it makes you step up your game. and if you say to the world, if you show up to the world as a writer, then I think it makes you decide to take your writing a little more serious because you've put it out there. So I do think that you step into your calling, you grow into your calling, whatever that is. Now, Sherry, I know you're very active in your church. You've got, your Bible study groups. Did you have a support system, mentors, other editors, accountability partners, anyone that kind of helped you finish these two publications?
No,
Or were you kind of
no,
alone on
just,
an island,
yeah,
making it
yeah,
happen?
I was on an island with the misfit toys.
Wow.
And the only inspiration I had was my editor. Like I said, we just, because after we finished the first one, and I can tell you exactly where I was when the ebook format came out. I can tell you exactly where I was when we launched the paperback. And I mean, we were not even letting the tire tracks settle. We were not even letting the dust settle. She goes, okay, now on to book number 2. And oh, by the way, you need to do a study guide to go with this one, because then now this one can be, done in churches and women's Bible study groups. And I'm like, okay, Haas, slow down there. And no, I did not have, and even in the course of it, yes, my husband was supportive, but he didn't know, not really. Just like when I crossed the finish line, woo, it was like, hey, honey, I'm really proud of you. But in the process of it, it's, just Sherry writing downstairs in her office in the basement, you know, things like
Wow.
that. And then, even with the second book, when the second book came out, I love my daughter. She's just truly, truly a chip off the old block. She is. And she's like, is this the end of it? I mean, are we kind of done with this? You're not going to be doing any more of these, right? And I said, oh no, we've got like 14 more books coming. So
I get it. I get it. So not to disillusion anyone, but writing can be a very lonely process,
oh yeah. Yeah.
and so I think you have to understand that that's what that looks like oftentimes. I mean, now I love it again with Sandy's workshop. I love it. I think it's the Saturday morning, maybe Saturday and Sunday morning, where everybody gets to, do some writing in a group setting. And so you can kind of see how other folks think and what they're thinking, how they get it on paper, and it does help you in your writing process. But at the end of the day, if you already know what it is you want to write about, it can become a very lonely process. And then it's like, and we say this all the time, it's like birthing a baby. Once you finally get that manuscript all together and it goes over to the editor, and now the editor tears it apart, it hurts your heart, and you can't take all of that seriously. You have to understand that the editor is actually trying to make it more readable, more acceptable across all the different whatever genre you're in, and to make it more sellable. And again, Sandy and I talk about this all the time. Books are business when it comes to publishers. Now, don't think that you can't publish, and you don't have to start writing saying, well, if I'm not going to have a bestseller, then I'm not going to take the time to write. Because sometimes the writing is for you. Sometimes the writing, it doesn't have to be for a big audience. The writing can just be for you if that's important. And but then the writing can be for an audience. So it depends on your end goal and how you want to reverse engineer that. For me, I want to write an ebook series to go with each one of my courses. And so it's for my students. And, it doesn't matter if it's a bestseller on Amazon, across the format. I wanted to bring more value to my students. And so you have to think about who your writing is for and what it is you're trying to accomplish by publishing. And it's going to be different for each of us. Now we might surprise ourselves and end up with a bestseller. Wouldn't that be nice? But I'm not saying don't write if you think, oh well, I'll never write a bestseller, so I'm not even going to try. It may not be what your writing is for. So don't be too hard on yourself. So for the first time authors, Sherry, what is the most important thing that they should be focusing on? And I know we've got some first time writers in the group. I know who you are. what should they be focusing on? And when they say, I think I'm going to do this, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to start writing, what's your best advice?
I could go in all different directions on this one, but I will do my best to succinct it as much as I possibly can. Why? Why do you want to write a book? Why do you feel that's been dropped in your spirit? What do you want to achieve from it? Exactly like what you just said, Kathy. And don't lose that feeling. Don't let go of that. Don't release that and say, it was just a passing thought. No, you had that thought for a purpose and a reason. And lean into that, because even if just one person buys your book that's not a family member, you are a success. If one person gets something out of that book, whatever that might be, guidance, direction, joy, hope, vision, whatever that might be, whatever kind of book genre you are writing, don't let go of that, because like what Kathy is sharing with you, the winds are going to come. The doubt, the fear, the unbelief, the I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not well known enough, I'm not talented enough, I don't know how to do social media, I don't, fill in the blank. Because I say this all the time, fear, doubt, and unbelief, because I am going to write a book called The Three Amigos, Fear, Doubt, and Unbelief. They all travel together. They're all cousins, okay? They are. But fear is the ringleader, because then that fear opens the door to the doubt, to the unbelief. I just can't do this. I'm not equipped to do this. Well, no, maybe today you're not, but maybe you need to listen to a podcast, or maybe you need to go to Sandy's seminar that she's doing in August. And Sandy did not know I was going to give her a plug with her seminar, but I am, because it really is when you can surround yourself with like-minded people, to have that where it's like, come on, I'm going to link arms with you. Come on, put your tennis shoes on, sister. We're going to the track. Come on. Okay, if you can't write 2,000 words in a day, can you write 20? Yes, you can. Can you jot down one or two ideas of this character, and maybe this character is doing this? I don't know what kind of books you're writing, but yes, you can. And lean into that one little step. And tagging onto what Kathy said, those of you who have had babies, you all are ladies that I see on here, either if you have or have not, 4 months generally goes by before you see any development. And it's the same way with skyscrapers, okay? It's the same way with trees. There's so much that happens that goes on that you don't see. But if that doesn't go on, if that foundation does not get laid, the skyscraper is going to come down in the first horrific wind. So is the tree. And if you are not rooted and grounded in your faith in yourself, you know what? I was given this idea. I was given this, and I don't know what to do or how to do it. But if I just take one day at a time, one thought at a time, one page at a time, one paragraph at a time, I'm going to see the success of this. It's just like labor, like Kathy was saying. There is going to be a part where you want to quit and you want to throw in the towel and you want to give up, but you're going to have to push through it. And when you push through it, there's this amazing thing that's going to come out on the other side.
Sherry, I love that. I love that. So, talking about not knowing the next step and deciding that you're going to hang in there and push through and get your manuscript done. So now you've got your manuscript, you found your editor, and how in the world did you decide how you were going to publish, where you were going to publish, and then all the parts and pieces? So for those of you that are listening, it can sound complicated, but don't overthink it. But you have to do a cover. You have to do maybe the inside of the cover. You have to do your acknowledgments. Maybe you have to do, the spine of the book and what you want that to look like, what picture you want, what even author's picture that you want to use of yourself, what little bio you want of yourself, how you're going to create that little snippet on what your book is about to attract readers. And then once you have this whole completed book in your hand, now how in the world are you going to market this? How are you going to get folks to pick it up? You know, what is your plan? And so, Sherry, how did you navigate all of that? Just tell us a little bit about, you know, you now had your manuscript, you had your editor, and was it the editor that kind of coached you along? Did you have somebody to coach you along? How did you figure out all of the other stuff that goes with publishing a book?
She coached me along with it, and we did exactly like what I just said. We just did one step at a time. And exactly what you said, Kathy. So once we got the manuscript, we knew how many pages. We decided on the size of the book that we wanted, and we just took tiny little baby steps. And then we decided, okay, I need to get an ISBN number. Why do I need to get an IBS number? And so I kept telling her, I said, I'm probably the most challenging client that you have because I questioned everything. And I would encourage you to do the exact same thing, because it's like, okay, well, why are we doing it like this? Well, why do I want to go on Amazon? Why do I want to do the ebook first? Why? Okay. Why do I want it to be like accessible to a Kindle or something of that nature? Question everything, because the more you question something, the more you're going to have wisdom and understanding about it. And you're going to understand the process. You're going to understand, okay, this is why I want to put it on this platform. And this is why I don't want to put it on this platform. Because if I put it on this platform, then I lose some of my author rights. Well, I don't want to lose some of my author rights because I'm not going to give that up. Or whatever the case may be, you truly just take it one step at a time. And let's pretend that you don't have Kathy, because I don't know your history. I don't know your background. Let's pretend you don't have Kathy, because I did not have Kathy. Let's pretend you do not have Sandy, and you have this great, amazing opportunity to hang out with her in August. Let's pretend you don't have any of that. Honestly, the resources that we have now, Chat GPT, YouTube, honestly, just go to YouTube. How do I write a children's book? And you will get so many resources. Go to Chat GPT, it is free. Go to any other, Canva is another one. These are free tools at our fingertips. Even if you have a phone, you can do all of this stuff on a phone. I encourage you to get a laptop. But then when you start, look up people on Instagram, look up Facebook groups, go to Facebook groups, and just then become active in those Facebook groups. Find out who the administrator is. Hi, my name is Sherry. Kathy, I see you're the administrator of this group. You know, I'm a newbie. I'm brand new. What, you know, and here's the interesting thing. You can start to separate what I call the sheep from the goats, because there's a whole lot of goats out there that want to take your money. There's a whole lot of people out there that they say they're a guru. They say no, they know what they're doing, and they don't. And I encountered a lot of that. And then you have people like Kathy, who she's a sheep. She will guide you. She will direct you. She will give you the same thing with Sandy. Not to give a whole farming analogy here, but it is. And they will take you under their wing and they will say, okay, look, you need to do this and you need to do this. Please, please, please just don't sit there. And I call it being in your molly grubs. Well, you're grumbling about this, or you're grumbling about this, or no, don't do that, because there is so much at our fingertips now, quite honestly, too much. Because
And that sometimes is the problem, is there's
it
so
is,
much
it's too much. It's
we don't know
so
what the, it's overwhelming.
overwhelming. And that's why I said earlier, question everything. Well, I saw over here to do it like this. Then why are you telling me to do it like this? And then when we would get to the edits, she would say, okay, I don't understand what you're saying here. I need for you to reword this. Or she would say something like, I don't like how this is worded. I want you to reword it like this. And I would be like, no, because that doesn't make sense. And then we would have these conversations back and forth, because her faith-based knowledge was not coming where my faith-based knowledge was coming from. And she's like, well, you can't say it like that. That doesn't make sense. And I said, no, we have to say it like that because that's so simple. And she's like, well, no, you need to make it sound more like a theologian or more religion. I said, no. I said, I want it to sound more simple. Like, as an example, if you're going to pray and ask the Lord to heal your marriage, let's say your marriage is a wreck and it's falling apart, and you're going to, Lord, I need you to help me with my marriage. I need you to help me with this. Oh, my Lord, he's a mess. Okay. And then turn around and 20 minutes later, call your girlfriend and murmur, grumble, and complain. You just unraveled everything that you prayed about. And she's like, I don't get this. I don't understand this. And so we had to work through that. And she goes, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Because again, your audience would get it. And I say this all the time. And for those of you that are on this call, you'll remember me saying this on other podcasts. Your tribe will find you.
Yes.
Whatever your voice is, your
Yes.
tribe will find you. And what Sherry is saying is be authentic and be true to your voice, because your tribe will find you. And sometimes your editor may not understand that, and that's your place to make your editor understand who you're actually writing the book for. So it goes back to what Sherry was saying. What is your why? Why are you writing this? And within your why will be your audience. It'll come right out if you really dive deep into why you're writing. Who you're writing for will come out in that why as well. So now, Sherry, once you got past all of that, and you had the cover and you had the ISBN number, and now you're uploading it onto the platforms that you decided that you need to upload it on. Now, how do you get your book in front of those readers that we're talking about in your why? How did you market your book at that point to get it in front of the right readers?
I became as knowledgeable as I possibly could with social media. So again, I started to do all kinds of research. I created a Facebook page. I created a Facebook group. I would post out on Instagram, on my Facebook. I tried to be as creative, and I am still doing that. I'm still marketing both of these books. And that's the beautiful thing. It's not like it has an expiration date. It's not like, okay, this is my casserole and it's going to expire and not be good in 5 days. No, it's in paper. It's going to be just as relevant 20 years from now as what it is now. And so again, like what Kathy was saying, identify who your tribe is. And once you identify who your tribe is, you can join local meetup groups, which I think way back when, that's how Kathy and I first met each other. Mm-hmm. Was through a meetup group. And somewhere down the river, Debbie Marks came along, and then I did not realize that Debbie Marks was connected with Kathy, and it just brought it all full circle. And so the advice in that is use the resources that you have available to you. And I don't mean to say, I'm trying to think of all the social media platforms. LinkedIn is free. Instagram is free. TikTok is free. Facebook is free. And I tell people I would not be on these social media platforms if it was not for my businesses. And I am on the social media because of all the nasty, the backbiting, the just stupid. I call it stupid. Common sense is no longer common. Let your voice be the good. Let your voice be the positive. Let you understand that when you regularly show up, and like I said, this is what I'm learning. When you regularly show up, your tribe will find you.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that wholeheartedly, Sherry. Thank you so much for that. I want to open it up for questions. Does anyone that's on the call today have any questions? Please feel free to unmute and ask Sherry, or is there any comments or aha moments, questions before we go today? We're coming up on the top of the hour, and I just want to give everyone an opportunity.
I love
Sandy.
your title. How did you come up with Mind Your Mouth?
It truly was inspired from the Holy Spirit. I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. And it was just one of those days when I'm, making up dinner one time and I had all these ideas and it was just honestly dropped down in my spirit, Mind Your Mouth. And I'm like, that's a really good book title. That's catchy.
Mhm.
And you know what? Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And whatever we churn around in our mind long enough, it'll come out of our mouth. And I'm like, I think we're just going to roll with this. And that's honestly, I will not take credit for it. I do. I feel like the Holy Spirit just dropped it down in my spirit. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to lean into this and I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, cool. Very nice.
I
Yeah.
love that. I can hear my grandmother saying something like that. Mind your mouth.
Mind your manners, watch your mouth. Yeah. But
Yep.
I like the fact that that's your title and you may be expecting something else, but when you start to read it, going, oh, wait a minute. Wow, it puts another layer onto it and makes a lot of sense. So bravo.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandy. And some of the reviews that I've had, they said that they had bought the book to, think that it was something different. And then, like you just shared, when they got about a chapter or two in it, they're like, oh crap, this is all about my mouth. Oh, this is all about me. Oh, this is cleaning up my game.
Very good.
And nothing's by accident. So maybe they needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
No one was brave enough to bring it up
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
Hi, Debbie.
I just want to say I am so grateful to see Sherry on here this morning. She is an unbelievable Bible study teacher. I can't tell you enough that it has it has come together with everything else I've been learning, and she brings it to light. And so if you ever want to listen to her, be part of it, join on Monday night, because it's awesome. But I also wanted to say that the minute Sherry's book came out, the second one,
It's this one. I can
bought
hold
it.
it up for you. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. And it is very, very thought-provoking. So be prepared to put your thinking cap on and for some of the thoughts to be part of it. So thank you, Sherry, for being on here today. It was great to see you. I'll see you tonight.
Yes, I will see you tonight. And I, if it's okay with Kathy, I will. I'll do a sideline plug. The name of book number 2, Sue, it is, and I dropped it in the chat, but it is called Motivational Moments 90-Day Prayer Journal. And I dropped it in the chat, the link where you can get it. It's on Amazon. And Kathy, like I said, if it's okay with you, I do a virtual Bible study every Monday night. And here's a really, really cool thing. We've been doing it well before COVID. And we probably are now on like 5 to 7 years doing the virtual Bible study. It's every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I also have a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group that if you can't join us live, like what Debbie was talking about, I stream it into the Facebook group and people can hop on and people can join at the convenience of their schedule. And if you will give me a moment, and if it's okay with Kathy, can I drop the link in the chat?
Yes, absolutely.
If
Make
that's
sure
okay.
make sure it says to everyone.
Yes. Did I get the other links in there to everyone?
You did, yes.
Okay, let me grab the link to that. And let's see here. Here we go. It's thinking. Here we go. Let me copy the link. Don't you just love modern technology?
Yeah,
Well, I love that we can
when
get
it
together
works.
like this, and so
Yeah.
we are totally spread out in different areas, but yet we can get
Yeah.
together like this, and it's so easy.
Sherry, I don't
Sure.
see the link to the second book.
Scroll all the way up to the top. I did it at the very beginning when
Yeah, she did it at the very beginning when we first got on. I can maybe copy and paste those again as well.
ask to join the group, and I can take care of all of that. And, don't be deceived where it says Bible study. We cover a lot of ground. So, kind of, Debbie, you're just so kind to say that and to bring that up. You're just so kind. But we cover a lot of ground, and I do my absolute best to stick to the notes. It's not like we, read Bible verses for 45 minutes. We don't. It's very real, and I joke all the time. And I'm like, that's why y'all keep showing up, because I'm real and I'm authentic, and kind of this is how I am. That's kind of why my daughter said, I don't need to read the book. I live it. And I'm like, because one last thought, because I know we're bumping here at the top of the time and I do have to go. But I will say this, that is one of the other reasons I felt so inclined to write the book and to continue to write books. And I don't know about other people, but I am so done with people who are not real, with people who are not authentic. I'm so done with people who say that they are gurus, like I said earlier. And I'm like, you know what? Just the proof is in the pudding. That's another statement. That's another saying.
And
I
just on
get
a
it.
side note, I gotta say this to show you that it's not really reading the Bible, but yet she did 4 weeks on fasting and related it to the Bible, and it gives you a whole new perspective of fasting. Trust me.
And we covered since Debbie brought that up, we covered not only the physical benefits, because I'm a health and wellness coach. So we talked about the physical benefits of fasting, but we also talked about the spiritual benefits. And I thought I could get it done in one night.
Now, for those that are listening, I do have another podcast that is on health and wellness. And believe it or not, I captured Sandy again. She is going to actually be on March 17th on the Fit is a Fiddle podcast with me. So March 17th at 4 o'clock, we're going to have Sherry again, and it's going to be all about health and wellness. So tune in if you're interested in hearing more about that. Any other comments, aha moments, or questions before we go? Anyone else? All right. When I post this replay, I will also post the links to her books so that you can get in contact with her and how to reach Sherry, so that if you do want to connect with her, you certainly can. And I will also have how you can connect with me and Sandy and Sally, and then also Sherry. So I want to thank everybody for being with us today.
Thank you
This has
so
been
much.
great. I hope we've inspired you to get out your tablet and start
Yes.
writing, whether it's electronic tablet or a good old paper and pencil, but just simply start and you'll get clarity later. Action comes first, clarity comes second. All
Thank
right,
you so
folks.
very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
lovely
Thank you.
seeing you all. Bye-bye now.
You too.
Bye, everyone.